What's the creepiest or most unexplainable glitch in the Matrix you've ever experienced? A classic, but it happened to me. Lost my car keys inside my apartment. Tore the place apart. Pockets, table, couch, under the couch, bathroom, kitchen. Looked for literally an hour, was already late. In desperation, I stepped outside onto the porch to smoke, and they were lying right there on the doormat. Outside. I live alone on the second floor, and the door was locked from the inside. I 100% hadn't gone out before that. How they got there, I still don't understand. It felt like the world was just messing with me. Driving late one night on a highway I know like the back of my hand, driven it hundreds of times. Music's playing, roads empty. Then I pass the familiar turnoff for a small village. Drive on for about 5 minutes and the exact same turnoff again. Same signs, same exit. Thought maybe it was just similar. Drive another 5 minutes, and there it is again. 3 times in a row, the same turnoff. The time on the clock seemed frozen for those 15 minutes. I pulled over, heart pounding. Sat there for 5 minutes to collect myself. Drove on. The road went back to normal. No more repeats. Still get chills thinking about it. This is the weirdest. Sitting at home on the couch watching TV. My black cat Bagheera is asleep on my lap. I'm petting him. Suddenly from the hallway walks in an exactly identical black cat. Looks identical to Bagheera. I freeze, look at the cat on my lap, then at the cat in the doorway. Look back down at my lap, and it's empty. Bagheera just vanished. The second cat looked at me, turned around, and walked back into the hallway. I went after it. No one there. Found Bagheera half an hour later asleep in the closet. I only have one cat. What was that? Happened in college. Got home after classes, tired. Thought I'd lie down on the couch for just 15 minutes before starting my term paper. Set the alarm on my phone for 15 minutes. Lay down. Seemed like I just closed my eyes for a second. The alarm goes off. I get up, look at the wall clock. Nearly 3 hours had passed. The time on my phone had also jumped ahead. But I wasn't asleep. I clearly remember just lying there with my eyes closed, hearing sounds from outside. It felt like someone just cut 2.5 hours out of my life. And yes, the alarm was definitely set for 15 minutes. I checked. Not exactly creepy, but unexplainable. Dropped a pen from my desk onto the floor, regular laminate, no cracks. Heard it hit, bent down to pick it up. It's gone. Completely. Searched everywhere under the desk, moved the chair, used my phone flashlight. Small room, no carpet. The pen just vanished. Okay, I thought. Maybe it rolled somewhere incredibly unlikely. 2 days later, I find that pen inside a closed desk drawer that only contains documents which I definitely hadn't opened since it fell. Walking down the street during rush hour. Crowded, everyone's hurrying somewhere. Then I notice a middle-aged woman. She takes 2 steps forward, stops, looks at a shop window, then takes 1 step back. Then again, 2 steps forward, looks at the same window, 1 step back. I stopped and watched her for about 3 minutes. She repeated this cycle about 10 times. A motionless face, like she didn't notice anyone around. Looked exactly like a bugged NPC in a game. Then she just unfroze, shook herself slightly and walked on normally. Walking with a friend through the park in the evening. Just chatting. Ahead on a bench, a couple is sitting. As we walk past, we both simultaneously see the man's hat turn bright purple for a split second, then back to its normal brown. We both froze. I asked my friend, "Did you see that?" He says, "The purple hat?" We were both shocked. Looked back, just a normal brown hat. Didn't dare go up and ask. But how could we both see the same utterly bizarre thing? Sitting at home alone, reading a book. Silence. Suddenly, I hear, absolutely clearly, my mother's voice behind me saying, "The kettle's about to boil." I nearly jumped out of my skin. I turn around. Nobody there. My mom lives in another city and definitely couldn't have come over without warning. 10 seconds later, the kettle in the kitchen, which I'd put on half an hour ago and completely forgotten about, actually starts whistling. The voice itself was so real that I'm still not sure it was just an auditory hallucination. staring out the window at the brick wall of the building opposite, just zoning out. And for a couple of seconds, a section of the wall, about a meter square, lost its texture. It just became smooth, gray, like an unrendered surface in an old video game. I blinked, everything went back to normal, regular brickwork. I don't use drugs, wasn't drinking, vision is fine, just a brief visual bug in the real world, eating lunch in a cafe. A guy walks in, the spitting image of my colleague Max. Same haircut, same mole on his cheek, even dressed similarly. Blue shirt, dark jeans. I was about to wave, but then I remembered Max is definitely on vacation at the beach today, posted photos this morning. The double sat at a table opposite me, ordered coffee. I stared at him the whole time. He noticed, gave me a weird look, finished his coffee, and left quickly. I never figured out what that was. An incredible coincidence or something else? Standing in the kitchen, washing an apple. It slips out of my wet hands. I watch it fall, and for a split second, maybe half a second, it just hangs in midair halfway to the floor. Then it drops the rest of the way normally. Looked like lag in a video game when the physics engine can't keep up. I picked up the apple, examined it, just a normal apple. Maybe I imagined it, but the moment it hung there felt very distinct. I have a very vivid childhood memory. My family is having a picnic, a swarm of bees attacks us, we run away, my dad loses his glasses. I remember it in detail. The forest, the blanket, the screams. I recounted this to my parents recently. They look at me wide-eyed and say that nothing like that ever happened. No picnic with bees, no lost glasses. I started arguing, trying to prove it. They showed me picnic photos from those years. None from a similar location or situation. Where this super realistic memory came from is a mystery. Talking with my wife in the kitchen. I asked her some question. She turned away towards the stove and started to answer. I heard the beginning of her reply, literally a couple of words. Then she turned back to me with a surprised look and asked me the same thing I had just asked her. And according to her, she hadn't even started answering my question yet. So I heard the beginning of her answer before she said it, and she didn't remember starting to speak. We were both a bit confused, walking down the office hallway during the day. Sunlight streamed through the window onto the wall, and I saw my shadow, but it was moving with a half-second delay. I raise my hand. The shadow raises it a moment later. I lower it. The shadow lowers it with a lag. This lasted about 5 to 7 seconds. I froze, then waved my hand sharply. The shadow repeated with the same delay. Then everything synced up again. It was very strange and a little creepy. I even checked if there was a second light source or anything else. Nothing. The radio in my car reset itself mid-song. Not just the station, but everything. Clock, presets, bass treble settings, all back to factory defaults. Happened instantly while I was driving on a clear highway. No bumps, no power surges I could tell. It just went silent for a second, then came back on like it was the first time being turned on. Never happened before or since. Weirdest part was the song it was playing just before it reset wasn't even on the default station it tuned to afterwards. I distinctly remember having a conversation with my sister about a specific movie we watched together as kids. We talked about funny scenes, characters we liked. It was a detailed chat. A few weeks later, I mentioned the movie again, and she had absolutely no idea what I was talking about. She insisted we never saw that movie, didn't recognize the title or plot. I described scenes, quotes, nothing. It wasn't a common movie either. It's like the shared memory exists only for me. Working late in the office, everyone else had gone home. Went to the restroom down the empty corridor. As I walked back, I clearly saw a figure, looked like my boss, walk into his office and close the door. I thought, oh, he's working late too. Walked past his office a minute later, the light was off. I knocked, opened the door, completely empty. Checked the whole floor. Definitely alone. But I saw him walk in. My wife and I were driving separately to meet at a restaurant. I got there first, parked, and saw her car pull into the spot right next to mine about 30 seconds later. I got out, waited for her. Nobody got out of her car. I looked inside. Empty. Figured maybe she parked elsewhere. Went inside the restaurant, texted her. She replied she was still 10 minutes away, stuck in traffic. When she finally arrived 10 minutes later, she parked in a different row. Whose car did I see, identical to hers, park right next to me? Had a dream I was reading a specific book, a sci-fi novel with a very particular plot about sentient AI. Woke up, couldn't shake the details. Went to a used bookstore later that week, browsing aimlessly. Pulled out a random book from the sci-fi section. It was the exact book from my dream. Same cover art, which I hadn't remembered clearly until I saw it. Same title, same author. I'd never heard of the book or author before the dream. Bought it immediately, of course. Was walking my dog in the woods on a familiar trail. Deep in the woods, we pass an old rusty park bench that definitely wasn't there before. It looked ancient, bolted to the ground. I stopped, examined it. Thought it was odd, but maybe the park service installed it recently, though it looked decades old. Continued the walk. On the way back, maybe 45 minutes later, passing the same spot, the bench was gone. No sign it had ever been there, no disturbed ground, nothing. My dog didn't seem to notice either way. I have a small scar on my left knee from falling off my bike as a kid. I've had it for over 20 years. One morning I woke up, and the scar was just gone. The skin was perfectly smooth, no discoloration, nothing. I was freaking out, showing my partner, who also remembered the scar clearly. We looked at old photos, scar visible. 2 days later, I woke up, and the scar was back, exactly as it had always been. No explanation. Sitting on a bus, looking out the window. A bright red car passes us going the other way. Normal enough. About 10 seconds later, the exact same bright red car, same make, model, even the same dent on the door, passes us again, going the same direction. I watched it turn off at the next intersection. How could it have gotten behind us and passed us again so quickly without me seeing it make a U-turn or loop around? My grandfather passed away when I was 15. A few years later, I was going through some old boxes and found a birthday card he had sent me for my 10th birthday. Inside, along with his usual message, he had written a PS. Don't worry too much about that university exam in May 2010, you'll do fine. I was reading this card in 2012. The specific exam he mentioned was indeed one I had stressed immensely about in May 2010, long after he had passed. How could he have written that? His handwriting was unmistakable. Woke up one morning to find a single muddy boot print on my clean kitchen floor. Large size, definitely not mine or my wife's. All doors and windows were locked, alarm system was on and hadn't been triggered. We checked everywhere, no sign of entry, nothing missing. Just one clear, muddy boot print near the sink. It rained heavily the night before. Where did it come from? It was cleaned up and nothing similar ever happened again. Playing video games online with friends, using voice chat. My internet connection suddenly drops completely. Router lights go off. Takes me about 5 minutes to reset everything and get back online. I log back into the game and voice chat, apologize for dropping. My friends are confused. They say I never left the chat and I was talking normally the entire time, responding to them, even though from my end I was completely offline. They even repeated things I supposedly said while I was offline. Found a photograph in an old family album that showed me, around age 5, playing in a park I have no memory of, wearing clothes I don't recognize, holding hands with a little girl I've never seen before or since. My parents don't remember the photo being taken, the location, or the other child. It's clearly me in the photo, but the context is a complete blank to everyone. Was making toast. Put bread in the toaster, pushed the lever down, turned around to get butter from the fridge, turned back. The toaster was empty, lever was up. The bread slices were sitting neatly on the counter beside the toaster, untoasted. I live alone. I absolutely remember putting them in and pushing the lever. It was only a few seconds. Driving through a residential neighborhood, see a kid riding a bike on the sidewalk ahead. Normal. As I get closer, the kid and the bike just pixelate like a bad video feed. For a split second, it looked like a cloud of glitchy squares, and then it was gone. Just an empty sidewalk. I slowed down, looked around. No sign of the kid or the bike anywhere. Wasn't sleepy, Wasn't distracted. It was broad daylight. Reading in bed, lamp on the nightstand. The lamp suddenly turns off. I check the bulb, check the plug, flick the switch, nothing. Assume the bulb burned out. Lie there in the dark for about 10 minutes, reading on my phone. The lamp suddenly turns back on by itself. Worked perfectly fine afterwards, didn't even change the bulb. Have you experienced a glitch in the Matrix like these? Share your story in the comments below.